Welcome to Stories with Facts. And, well, listeners, you have the global markets. They're in a bit of a frenzy right now.
Yeah, a bit of turmoil, you could say.
Yeah, and the sources that you brought in, CNN, BBC, ABC News, really paint a pretty dramatic picture of what's been happening.
Yeah.
And we're talking some serious drops in the market.
Some huge drop.
In just 5 days. The Dow Jones NASDAQ, India's Sensex, Hong Kong's Hang Seng, Europe's Euro stocks.
Yeah.
All down between 4 to 13%.
Oh, yeah, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Trillions of dollars.
And the reports actually highlight that on Monday alone, $9.5 trillion in wealth just vanished.
Poof.
Yeah, poof, just gone like that. And, all the sources seem to agree that one person is at the center of all of this, President Trump.
President Trump, yes.
And his, I guess you could call it a global tariff war.
They're calling it a tariff war.
Yeah. Tariff war.
Yeah.
So what is this tariff war about?
Well, there's these two tariffs that Trump has implemented.
Okay.
First, a 10% tariff on all goods.
So everything.
Every single thing that comes
Yeah.
into the United States, no matter where it's from.
Wow.
It's like a 10% tax on imports.
Okay, 10% across the board.
Across the board.
Got it. And the second part of this is the discounted reciprocal tariff. Now, discounted sounds good,
It does, doesn't it?
but from what I'm reading, it doesn't sound so good.
No, not really discounted at all. Basically, what it does is it adds another one to 40%
Oh, wow.
on top of that 10%.
Wow. So on top of the 10,
Yeah.
okay, so some countries could be facing a 50% tariff?
That's right. And it's targeted towards Europe, Japan,
Yeah.
and China.
Okay. And so this reciprocal part, I guess the idea is that this will kind of force other countries to lower their trade barriers
Yeah, that's the thinking.
to match the U.S.
Right.
And, Trump has consistently said that his goal is to address the U.S. trade deficit.
Yeah,
We buy way more than we sell.
exactly. So what Trump is trying to do is make imported goods more expensive so that American consumers and businesses will buy more
Domestic products.
domestically produced goods, yes.
Okay.
And since the U.S. buys so much from China, China was kind of the first target, hit with a 34% tariff
Okay.
on top of that 10% base.
34%
Look,
on top of the 10.
that's right.
And as you can imagine, China was not happy.
Well, no one likes to be told what to do.
Exactly.
And China's response was, well, they did the same thing right back.
Oh, so they imposed a 34% tariff on U.S. goods.
Exactly, a mirror image. And this wasn't just some symbolic move either. I mean, they made it clear that they were not going to back down from a fight.
They meant business.
They meant business.
And, from what I read, President Trump's reaction to this was, let's just say it wasn't a peaceful one.
Well, he doubled down.
Yeah.
He increased the tariffs on Chinese goods
Oh,
to 104%.
104%.
104%.
That is unbelievable.
Wow.
And China, of course, responded.
Yeah, they weren't just going to sit there and take it.
What did they do?
They imposed an 84% tariff
Okay.
on U.S. imports.
84.
But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the message that they sent.
What was the message?
We will not be bullied.
Oh, wow. So this is really starting to sound like
A tariff war.
a tariff war, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a mutually assured destruction with tariffs instead of nukes.
Yeah, it's kind of scary when you think about it.
It is.
It's like the Cold War all over again,
Yeah.
but with economics.
And Trump has said that he's doing this as a negotiating tactic
Yeah, to get China to the table.
to get a better deal.
A more favorable trade agreement.
But will it work?
I don't know about that. I mean, Xi Jinping is a tough negotiator.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the type to back down.
He's got a long-term vision.
He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
This is a clash of global powers.
Right. And it really comes down to their underlying economic relationship.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a huge trade relationship with China.
$600 billion a year.
$600 billion.
A lot of money.
Yeah. But it's heavily weighted in one direction. We import $450 billion worth of goods from them every year.
And they only import $150 billion from us.
So there's a huge deficit.
$300 billion deficit. That's what Trump wants to fix.
And we're talking everything.
Oh, yeah.
We import iPhones, we import parts for Tesla. I mean, even those Mangier hats.
We're irony.
Yeah, it is ironic, isn't it? But this isn't the first time that the U.S. has tried to use tariffs against China.
You're right.
Back in 2018, the U.S. imposed a 30% tariff on solar panels from China.
And what happened?
Well, the Chinese economy didn't collapse, and the solar panels didn't disappear.
No.
What they did is they rerouted their production.
Yeah, they're smart.
They went through other Southeast Asian countries
Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam.
to get around the U.S. tariffs.
Exactly.
So it seems like tariffs aren't always effective.
Not in a globalized economy.
No, because these global supply chains
Yeah.
are so adaptable.
They just find a way around it.
And on top of that, we have to remember that China controls like 90% of the world's rare earth minerals.
Oh, yeah. Those are important.
They're essential for high-tech industries.
Semiconductors, EV batteries, even military applications.
So China really has an advantage here.
They do.
And it seems like they've been preparing for this for a while. Back in December 2024, before Trump even took office, China banned the export of gallium, germanium, and antimony to the United States.
Those are all essential
Yeah.
for American industries.
So they were thinking ahead.
Oh, yeah, they were?
And recently they've increased tariffs on key U.S. exports, oil, gas,
Ah,
and soybeans.
Swedes.
And the reports actually mention that China uses soybeans to feed 450 million pigs.
450 million pigs.
Yeah. So if they stop buying our soybeans, that's going to be a big problem for American farmers.
A huge problem.
And on top of the tariffs, China has taken other actions. They've blacklisted U.S. defense firms. They've launched an antitrust probe into Google. So they're really using everything they've got.
Oh, yeah. They have a lot of tools at their disposal.
Yeah. And it seems like China is really trying to strengthen their own domestic economy and find new trade partners.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
While President Trump seems to be more focused on his base,
Yeah, it's a different approach.
and China is actively engaging in diplomacy.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking to other countries
Like Japan,
about establishing alternative trade routes.
to bypass the U.S.
So they're playing the long game.
They are.
And there's a lot more that China could do. They could devalue their currency. They could flood the market with cheap goods. They could even sell off their U.S. Treasury bonds.
All of those would have major consequences.
Yeah. So the question is, can China build a coalition strong enough to challenge President Trump's trade policies?
Yeah, that's the big question.
And the markets are definitely reacting. We've seen another 2% drop since the latest tariff increase.
Investors are nervous.
Yeah, they are. And it's not just abstract numbers. We're seeing real-world consequences.
Yeah, like Elon Musk. Tesla stock is down.
SpaceX is having supply chain problems because of the rare earth mineral shortage.
Yeah, and now Musk is advocating for open trade.
He's even disagreeing with Trump on H-1B visas.
He's changing his tune.
Yeah. And American consumers are going to feel the impact.
Oh, yeah.
Prices are going to go up.
iPhones are going to be more expensive. Small businesses are going to fail.
And there's a threat of recession. And it's not just the United States. The EU is also considering retaliatory tariffs
They're talking about a 25% tariff.
on motorcycles, poultry, and steel.
They're not going to stand for it.
Nope. But some countries aren't imposing tariffs.
Yeah, like Vietnam.
They're staying out of it.
Maybe they see an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then you have countries like Malaysia and New Zealand. They're just holding firm.
Everyone's reacting differently.
It's a complex situation. And then you have India.
Right.
They're facing a 27% tariff from the U.S.
They're in a tough spot. And China is trying to bring them into an alliance.
Yeah, they want a united front against Trump.
And they're really playing up the historical ties.
75 years of trade relations.
But the relationship between China and India is complicated.
Huh?
They have border disputes, they've had wars.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
So India has a tough decision to make. Do they side with China? Or do they try to make a deal with Trump?
Either way, it's going to have a big impact on their future.
A huge impact. And this all raises some bigger questions about the future of the global order. Could this be the start of an Asian century? Some people are drawing parallels to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of the 1930s, which made the Great Depression much worse. So could this tariff war actually backfire and make China the world's leading power?
That's a scary thought.
It is. And there's another possibility, that China might try to take Taiwan. While the US is distracted by the trade war, that's a wild card scenario.
But it's a possibility.
It just shows how high the stakes are. This is more than just a trade war. It's a battle for the 21st century. In our next deep dive, we'll look more closely at China's long-term plans, the potential for UF isolation, and the role of other nations in all of this.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. Until then, stay informed. Keep an eye on the markets, because this is a story that's still unfolding.
And what if this tariff war ends up accidentally making China the world's leader? That's something to think about.
It is. This has been The Deep Dive.